clear. So I'd like to welcome everyone officially to WSI's Digital Power Hour series today. Our webinar today is entitled 5 Steps to Mastering the Art of Social Selling and to Eliminate Cold Calling. As I mentioned, my name is Cheryl Baldwin. I'm the Director of Marketing Communications here at WSI Corporate, and I will be your host today. I just want to go through a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. So everyone has been muted, so if you have any questions, please type them into the question box. We will be having a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. This webinar, for everyone to know, is being recorded, so if you miss anything, don't worry. A WSI consultant or staff member that referred you to this webinar will provide you with the recording after the webinar is completed. Just in case you aren't familiar with who we are, WSI boasts the largest network of digital marketing consultants across the world. We have offices in more than 80 countries internationally and provide digital marketing solutions like web design and development, pay-per-click, search engine optimization, social media, and mobile marketing to businesses of all sizes and industries. We even actually offer an online training course on social selling, which you'll hear a little bit more about at the end of this webinar. So that's enough about us. Now I would like to introduce our speaker for today. And so joining me to present and talk about social selling and this new paradigm shift in leveraging social media as a sales strategy is David Duncan. David is a WSI digital marketing expert based out of the UK, as he mentioned. David has over 10 years of experience in the digital marketing agency industry and is an experienced speaker and is actually one of our trainers for our Social Selling Mastery course. He is also an avid blogger and enthusiast of social media in general and can be followed on any of his social channels you see here. I know David has some great information to share with you today, so without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to David. David.
Thanks very much, Cheryl. Great to be talking to you all today about social media, which, as Cheryl says, is one of the big new changes taking place with the sales and the sales process. And I love these two quotations that really describe a bit more about social selling and social selling techniques. They talk about sales reps. They're not just present in social media, but they position themselves as credible and influential sources in customer networks. That's the first quotation. And the fact that the B2B social buyer relies on social media and online communities during the purchase process. And we're all familiar with that because, you know, if we book a holiday and we're going to stay in a hotel, we nearly always would check the ratings of the hotel before we finally book the room. So there's a certain degree of, we are familiar with the fact that we have to verify things and make sure your reputation online is great before people will make those bookings. So one of the core challenges that we have is that, you know, there's a simple book that was called The Challenger Sale, and there was a study from CEB, and they found that nearly 60% of the buying journey is done without the salespeople involved. The buyer journey is being done by people independently researching products and services online, and then once they've identified a product or a service they want, they then look for the companies and look at the reputation of the companies that they're finding online. So, you know, if you can lead with insights and take control of the customer conversation, that's the best way to overcome that. But there is a challenge here for businesses to get their reputation online visible. And Forrester Research backs this up and claims that 65% of deals are awarded to the person or the team that are first to add value. So it's important that you know, companies keep up to the minute with the changes that are taking place with their clients and prospects, businesses, so that you're the first to know and understand the challenges that they face, because then you can offer the solution to those challenges to them. And you know, whether you realize it or not, buyers are making the decision as to who are the best suppliers, and they're making it based on the information that they're finding on the internet very often. They're doing the due diligence, and very often they're quite a long way down that sales path before they get in touch with one of the sales team. So the content is being checked out and it's important that you've got valuable content there to educate the buyer. So with the increasing popularity of social media, it's changed the way that we socialize with families and friends, and it's changed the way customers research and buy products and services. But rather than seeing this as a threat, then social sellers should see it as an opportunity and try to leverage the web technology to deliver the insight and really influence the buyers when they're in that process of making the decision. So we've got 5 main areas that we're going to cover this afternoon. Identifying the target's buyer persona. You know, a professional sales process includes developing a relationship. It used to be done in an old-fashioned way with a handshake, but now it's very often online. And the first step to good social selling is to identify who are the key decision makers and trying to understand where they are online so that you can engage with them. And then you've got the intelligence to consider. So creating a strategy to listen to what your buyers are looking for, and then that will help you to create the right content to educate them, and will lead them to consider you as part of the purchase decision. Clearly, you have to create great content online, and now people are saying that content is one of the most important things that you can do to educate your buyer. So you do need to share quality, targeted content of your own, but you can also share content that other people have written to try and intrigue the buyer. In doing that, you become a trusted authority. People see you as an expert in your field, and obviously they're then more prone to contacting the expert for advice and support. And obviously you want to monitor what's working, what's not working, and obviously you would do more of the things that are working and reduce things. If you see you've tried something and it's not working, then take the appropriate action to ditch that. So we'll start by thinking about the buyer's persona. And a persona really is who, if you think about who your top clients are, then try and understand what makes them different. No two customers are the same. Even if they buy the same product, they very often come at it with different needs and desires. So every customer has a different motivation for making a purchase, but you need, and they will look in different ways for the solutions. So thinking about decision makers, if you identify the decision makers in your top companies and then model a persona on that, provide the information that they would like to know about your products and services. Think of things like what keeps them awake at night, what would influence their decision, you know, where are they online, where would they go online to look for information. Some buyers would use maybe LinkedIn, others wouldn't. They'd be more Facebook orientated, maybe in the B2C environment. Maybe Facebook would be more important, but even B2B companies are involved in Facebook. And try and tailor the content to meet their needs. So the whole goal here is to educate them on the fact that you are the expert in your field, and then have to develop their trust in your brand. So it can't be stressed enough how important it is to be present where your customers are having those conversations and browsing. And sometimes the conversations will be about you, and if you're not watching, you won't be aware of what they're thinking, and of course you're not able to respond then either. So I've just created an example of a buyer persona here, and really the goal of this would be to understand where he operates online and what content is he really interested in. It's a he in this case, but it could equally be a female as well. So I've created this fictional person called Marketing Martin. You know, he's a professional marketer, works for a mid-sized company. He's 35 to 45-year-old, married with children, and these background pieces of information will tell us the sorts of things he's interested in. You know, it might be he's going to be interested in specific elements. He's got some challenges with his work. You know, he's been forced to cut cost. He might be not sure where he's getting the best value for money. He's probably very, very busy, so he wants quick information. He wants help to achieve his business goals. And if you can provide that help to him, then he's more likely to see you as a valuable resource and connect with you. So what influences the decisions? he would probably want to see companies with a proven track record. So you clearly, when you get near to the point of the person making the decision to buy, you do need to provide that solid information about your own credibility. So testimonials, case studies, tests of various products and services showing that they are best in market. So once you've identified the best persona, there may be more than one type. So the marketing manager is looking for one lot of information. Perhaps someone in a more technical role would be looking for different information. They would be looking for technical specifications of products and so on, rather than the marketing type ideas. But getting a handle on where your customers might be having social conversations is fairly easy, actually. Every major social network has an advanced search feature, so you can enter specific details about the kinds of people you're looking for, and they will bring up examples there. You can then do research on those individuals and try and find out who they're connected to. You find out where they're browsing online, and that will help you to decide that you're on the right track. And there are both paid as well as free discovery tools for each social platform. So, you know, if you're in business to business or in the consultancy arena, probably LinkedIn is one of the big important networks to be active on. Again, there you can look to see on LinkedIn, find out what people are discussing, join groups that are associated with the topic or the product that you're selling, and follow those discussions. And you're really at this stage checking out the competition. You can connect with influencers, so these would be the people who are seen already as the experts in those fields. And if you can get them to back you or to rebroadcast some of your information, that spreads your information to a much wider audience going forward. So these are the sorts of things that we would look to do there. Then we move on to the intelligence. So this is the intelligence gathering. Try and create some sort of strategy to listen to what's happening online. Watch the conversations in the groups and notice boards, and then find out the questions people are asking. If you can identify common questions that are not currently being answered very well, and provide those answers, you will engage with a massive new section of the community. So intelligence is key. Try and think of things that you can listen to. What would be interesting information to find out about your buyer? Well, maybe mergers and acquisitions might be important. You know, if your buyer's competitor has been acquired, then you know, that would be interesting to follow that through. There might be a new solution being launched by a competitor, so let's find out about that and see how you can combat that. Companies or salespeople moving on. You know, on LinkedIn, you can see when people move from a company. So you can look at a company profile on LinkedIn, and it will give you a list of all their staff. And it will show you the people that have left recently, people that are just joining. So this is a tremendous resource there of competitive information about either your prospects or your clients indeed, and you can understand then what is influencing the buyers in those companies. Perhaps your buyer's won a major account contract. He may need help to deliver some of the aspects of that account that he's just won. So again, if you're up to date with what those changes taking place, you're ready to position yourself to capture some of that information. Ask questions of the sales team. So what are the most common questions that they're being asked by their clients? What are their clients' challenges and pain points? And again, providing information, whether it's technical or background information on that, in an easy to understand and easy to deliver format is a great way of letting people see that you're an expert and you know what you're doing. Keeping track of the competition I mentioned already, and you know, as you get to understand better what's influencing people, you can add additional items into the personas you've created, so you can develop them and change them as your business evolves. And it's really all about trying to build a big connection of as many relationships as you can, and also as many influential people as you can. So some social listening ideas. You can set up some Google Alerts. If you just go to Google and type in the search bar Google Alerts, you can type then a search phrase into the box, and Google will email you every time that phrase comes up. Now obviously if you enter a very common phrase, you're going to get lots of emails, so try and be a little bit selective about the things you set the alerts up for, but you can monitor prospects, clients, competitors that way. You can follow events on Twitter. So by going to Twitter, following trade shows, most trade shows have a hashtag, which is the hash symbol there. You can follow the phrase for those industry events. So even if you don't go to the events, you can get the social chatter that's taking place just by doing a search on that hashtag. Twitter will show you all the comments that people have made, all the questions that have been asked, and you will very often get links to the presentation material that's been delivered at those trade shows. Social mentions, another useful tool. Again, this is just a real-time tool for searching the social feed, and it will bring out, again, if you use a particular search term or a hashtag, it'll bring up all the search results taking place on the social channels. And LinkedIn is a fantastic resource, of course. There are lots of training available on LinkedIn, but think about looking at groups. You can look at groups for clients and prospects, products or services. Check out the competitors, so you can look at their company pages, see who's coming and going, and just monitoring what's happening there. You can set up, in the free version of LinkedIn, you get 3 searches that you can save. So you might save, if your target is to sell to a marketing manager, Marketing Martin, you might want to know every time someone is appointed a marketing manager in a company within 20 miles of your office. And you can do that on LinkedIn. Go into the advanced search and look up those parameters and then save the search. LinkedIn will then email you every week with all the people that have just been appointed a marketing manager within 20 miles of your office. So they might be a good target prospect for you, for your product or service. So these searches are great for identifying, listening for things that are happening that you can then capitalize on from a sales point of view. I've mentioned briefly a content marketing plan, but you need to share quality content with your audience. And this is all about, again, connecting and intriguing your buyer and making them see you as the expert in your field. So to do this, you've got to really think and try and make sure there's no barriers between sales and marketing. Try and make sure that you've got them working together as a team. Marketing will listen for different things probably than a sales rep. Sales reps tend to listen for things like their client's name, hot prospects, RFPs, industry opportunities and so on. Whereas marketing people are very often interested in key competitors and buzzwords about the industry. So try and tie the whole thing together so that both sides are working as a team there. And create a content calendar. I'll show you an example of one of them in a few minutes, but again, that could be around different times of the year. So Easter is the sort of thing, Easter, Halloween, Christmas, people introduce different themes for different times of the year. It may be about new product launches or industry events and industry conferences and so on. So you can plan, if you know those things are coming up, you can create content that will engage with people appropriate to that particular scenario. Answer the questions, so just answering the frequently asked questions is a great way of creating content. Gives you lots of topics. And of course the content you could create can be all different types, from written word, blogs, press releases, case studies, reviews, but also remember about videos, remember about podcasts, which is just an audio file stored online. Presentation materials can be shared on SlideShare or other sharing systems. Newsletters. And again, when you're creating your content, a lot of that content can be used more than once. So if you have a really good case study, it can be part of a newsletter, it can be a blog article, and it could be a press release. And in fact, you could even record a video of the individual from the case study explaining how it goes. That could be a video that went on YouTube. There are lots of things you can do to repurpose the same content. You don't need to write new information all the time, but look for creating a nice piece of work and then splitting it up and spreading it across the channels. Once you've published it, obviously then that's when you would want to share it and socialize, spread it through the social channels as well as through your own blog. And another interesting fact is companies with a blog generate 60%, 67% more leads per month. So, this constantly adding fresh content to the website will not only help to get more content there for people to find, it will help Google to index your website more highly in the search results, because Google loves fresh, relevant content. And think also about the sales funnel. We're all familiar with the sales funnel where, a prospect initially is just aware of your products and services, and then they might think, well, I know these few different companies, I'm now going to consider which one to go with. So they're looking for different information, and then when it gets close to the decision point, they want that reassurance that they're making the right decision. So, the awareness creation is really the blog posts and social media updates, infographics, and it's your general sort of standard marketing stuff. To show you're more of an expert, though, it's quite good to do things like ebooks, white papers, run webinars, presentations, and so on. And then, as I say, once they get close to the decision-making stage, you're then looking for case studies, brochures, loyalty schemes, and so on. So decide on where is going to be the most useful place to place all your content you're going to create. And really the answer to that is it's where your target audience are. So don't try and do everything at once. Pick 2 or 3 areas to start with. Don't spread yourself too thin. You might decide that you're going to focus on doing a couple of webinars with a white paper attached and some blog posts, and that might be a good way to start. And then from there, expand and use some additional channels moving forward. And then a publication calendar could look something like this. You have a list of serious activities down the left-hand side there. So you've got your webinars and your white papers, and decide which months, what topic for the month is going to be, and how many blog posts are you going to do each month. You might decide to do 1 a week, or it might be 1 a month, you might do a quarterly case study. So not always are you going to do everything every month. Social media updates probably need to be more frequent, though. They need to be several times a week at least, or maybe even several times a day. But think of the events that you can capitalize on, industry conferences and stuff like that. There's lots of content can be created around those buzzy things. And then try and stick with the buyer's journey. So you need to be sharing content to help the buyer through that journey that I just talked about. So they start with the general research, then there's more specific product information and comparisons they want to do, and when the buyer is closer to a decision, they look for testimonials and references, just as you would do on TripAdvisor for a hotel. And developing your sphere of influence and becoming that trusted source of information for your target audience is really one of the main goals. Great content is one of the best sales tools in the world. So establishing a professional presence on LinkedIn or other appropriate social channels with complete profiles there, you can share your information, you can share your insight there with your target. You can identify other people to connect with there who would be interested in your products and services. And you don't need to write all of the content yourself. There's so much information around, and you really need to cut through some of that information and identify key bits of information that would be most important to your target audience. So look for influential bloggers in your particular industry, and you might want to share some of their content as well as the content you're creating within your own company. Again, by sharing other people's content, they notice you're sharing it, if you can get them to connect with you and help to spread the word about your products and services, that can have a huge impact on your sales pipeline. So remember, you don't need to write everything yourself. You might decide that there's a lot you can curate there. Try and filter it to add value. Feedly, I'll show you an example in a second, is one of the content aggregators, and this just helps you to review current topics. It'll automatically put on your desktop current topics in the area you're interested with. And to help share the content, you can use tools like Hootsuite, which will help you to schedule and organize the content. So you don't need to be sitting tweeting or sharing on LinkedIn every minute of the day. You can actually schedule the content to go out at particular times. This is an example of a Feedly. If you just go to feedly.com, Google Feedly, down the left-hand side are all the topics that you've created. This is just an example I've done here for this case study. So if I was interested in analytics, content marketing, management topics, sales, or social media, I have then added the blogs I'm interested in following into those different categories, and then it will show all of the fresh material that's coming up in these topics. So it's very easy then to see at a high level what's happening that's interesting, and then you can just click into that particular article. It takes you straight to that blog. So you don't need to look at 10 or 20 websites every day. It's all in one place. It's very easy and very quick to use and to share. And by sharing, of course, what you're doing is you're actually adding an update. This is an example, a couple of examples that show stuff that I've shared in the last few days. So you might share an article that some have been written. That one at the top there has been written by LinkedIn. Actually, I didn't write it, but I've just shared it with my audience, and people then like that information, and that helps to spread the word to the people that are connected to them. So contribute ideas and insights, and these insights will help to spread the word. I think it also adds value if you ask questions or develop a bit of a discussion around the sharing. Don't just say, here's an interesting article, but say, do you think this is really true? For example, do you still think that search engine optimization is valuable, or should we all be doing something else? So share an article, but be a bit provocative, and you may get then more people to engage with your content. Twitter is another great place to find content sources. If you go to your Twitter account, there's a search box at the top. In this example, I've put CRM in and hit search, and it brings up a list of everyone that is an expert in CRM. So you can either look by individual's profile or just look at the tweets that have gone out that have the word CRM in it. And you can then see content. You'll see content about that topic that you've typed in. There's also another tool called Clout for Twitter, and if you load that, it's in the little app that goes on Chrome. It will show you how influential the people that have sent those tweets are. You see the little number by the red K, the 45 in the top there, where the red arrow points to. That's 45. The next one down is 43, and then 29. So the most influential, the person with the most connections and the most influence on that page, is the first one. And the scores are out of 100, so people that have got a mark of 80 or 60 or 70 or 80 are really quite influential online. So if you share their content, those are the influential people to be looking at. And this is an example of Hootsuite. You can see this is, again, just hootsuite.com. There's a free version, and again, you can pay for a version that gives you better analytics and more channels you can watch. So you can set up your different Twitter feeds along the top, or you can monitor just for phrases. So if you have a list of people on, if you've created a list on Twitter of people who talk about digital marketing, you can import that list here and just look at the tweets that talk about digital marketing. So everyone gets very confused in Twitter because there's so much information and people are following hundreds or thousands of people. So how do you find out what's interesting? Well, they create lists and then they watch the tweets about those lists. So Hootsuite's just a way of organizing the data, and then you can share the information. So if you particularly want to retweet something, you can compose a message at the top left-hand side there and schedule it to go out at 1 o'clock next Monday afternoon. So this is how we would schedule messages to go out either to Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, whatever. You can schedule it all on using Hootsuite. So you've found lots of great content, you're sharing lots of great content, but you do really need to see what's working, track the situation and monitor the level of engagement, because just going on blindly sharing lots of stuff is not really necessarily going to work. You spend a lot of time and effort. You need to really feel comfortable that it's working. So you can get a good sense of how you're doing it just by the number of responses or engagements you get, so the number of likes, retweets, follows, and so on. And it doesn't happen overnight because you've got to listen first before you can actually engage. But eventually, if you're interesting and helpful, people will start to follow you and start to notice you. So track and measure how successful certain kinds of posts are. So in my experience, posts that ask questions or are a little provocative will get more engagement than a bland post that just sends out information. So look for what's working. That way you can do more of that. The marketing team can then put more time and energy into creating content that will get the most engagement. Also keep an eye on the quality of the leads that you're getting back. Track how many leads are coming back from the social media, various platforms you're engaged in, but keep in mind that part of social selling is becoming an authority and making connections, and that's really about boosting referrals. It's about boosting your online word-of-mouth referrals. So you do need to monitor any positive outcomes generated, and just even if somebody's just giving you credit for a great article, go back and thank them. Because that will help with the engagement. So do more of what works, and make sure you're covering each stage of the sales funnel, and just create that great authority for yourself. Another useful tool to understand, measure your engagement is a tool called Social Bro, and again there's a free version of this as well as a paid version, obviously. But you can measure here, as just another example that I'm showing you, of how many people are actually retweeting, mentioning, and favoriting the tweets over a certain period of time. Who are the influential followers? Who are the people that are influential that I follow and that are following me? Who's new to follow me, and so on. So it helps you identify who are the influential people, who would I like to engage with, and really understand the competitors. So you can actually look at your competitors' feeds here as well, see who they're working with, who they're following. You can understand a bit more about their approach, and that could be useful. And this also gives you information such as the best time to tweet, so it knows how many of your followers are online at any given time of day, so when's the most impactful time to tweet. And there's a lot of in-depth analytics here, so this is quite a useful thing if you get into Twitter in a serious way. But I think the main message really here is to build a daily routine, try and keep current, and track the success. So there's clearly some fairly obvious things you can track to measure success, but also things like how many ebooks have been downloaded, how many sales demos have been requested from the website, how many, maybe you have a trial, software trial that people can partake in from your website. So looking at those sort of elements, watch how successful it's all being, and remember the mobile applications to be active on mobile devices and be compatible with mobile devices. And even when you're out and about, you can still do a lot of this from the apps on your phone. So the content marketing and the engagement are a big part of the marketing strategies these days. Make sure the sales and marketing team are working closely together and transform the whole process of selling. Really think through what you're trying to achieve for the company. Developing a well-devised social selling plan really that helps your clients and prospects through their buying journey, and this increases your chances of being considered as their next partner for sales. And when we think about the successful salesperson of the future, I think these are some of the key things that the successful salesperson is going to have to demonstrate going forward. They'll have a solid online reputation, and it clearly shows them as an industry expert. They'll be capable of using social networking and social communication tools to connect with other industry experts and clients and prospects. They'll be able to not only create great content, but deliver great content that's been created for them and get that out to the right people. And leveraging social CRM to study prospects and engage with them and look for those buying signals from clients and prospects right throughout the cycle. And that really is the summary slide there. I think that really sums up what I think we should be trying to do with the sales process here, is leverage this to ensure success. So I'm sure there's been a few questions in the last 40 minutes or so, and we'll try and answer any questions that there are now.
Great, thanks, David. That was really good. We do have some questions coming through, and again, please send them across. I guess one question here is, do you recommend for a company to move to social selling completely, or is this something they should add in gradually into their business?
Well, I think I would add it into the marketing mix. I mean, I think it's the sales process of the future, but no business owner would automatically switch off everything they're currently doing and in the hope that you can make something work, because this stuff is challenging and takes time to implement. Creating great content, creating those personas, engaging with your audience, and building a really strong following online does take time to achieve. So I think it's something you should be starting to do now. You should certainly be starting to understand how to do it now, and then looking at implementing it in parallel with your existing marketing methods, and then over time find out which one's working. And we would all, as business people, know to spend more money and time and effort on the things that are working and drop off the things that are no longer working so well. Yellow pages and so on is kind of died off, and people are more online now. So we've seen dramatic changes in the way marketing is done over even the last 10 years, far less 20 years. Great.
I know that you shared a number of types of content that people could be creating. There's a question here. Is there one in particular type of content you would recommend to help improve one's position as an expert?
Well, I think it depends on who your target audience is. So, infographics appeal to a certain type of person. The more visually orientated person, perhaps they don't appeal to. I need to be careful what I say. Might not appeal to the older generation. I don't know. So I think you want to tailor it to your audience. I think something that is very successful at helping people to understand is video, and I think video online is a fantastic way of engaging with prospects and getting information across. So I think video and blogging would be the two things. I think having a blog and updating that regularly, doing some videos, and then maybe sharing your presentations on SlideShare. That's the sort of thing I think that is building up your database of credibility, if you like. Yeah. And if you look up LinkedIn profiles, on your profile you can actually show your SlideShare videos, or you show your videos from YouTube, but you can also present your SlideShare presentation material from your company presentations that you've got. So if you've got SlideShares, you can post them on your LinkedIn profile, and anyone then that looks at your LinkedIn profile can see those presentations on SlideShare. So sharing that sort of stuff, you're building up the reputation and your area of expertise.
Great. A question here, because you obviously talked a little bit about, you don't have to just share your own content, you can be sharing other reputable content out there as well. And someone has a question here on, what's the okay way to share a white paper that I've downloaded maybe from another person's site?
Well, I think that would be, you would give credit to the individual who wrote the white paper, so don't try and pass it off as something of your own. But I think I would add a commentary about it. So you would add some sort of commentary paragraph that gives your insight into it, that might add even additional value to the white paper itself. But by all means, pass it on and say, here's an interesting white paper that was written by another company. But I thought it was very relevant to the situation in your particular business, so I'm passing it on to you, Fred. So you're trying to add value to that person by passing on a white paper written by someone else.
Great. There's a question around your marketing Martin persona, and obviously that's a made-up persona for the purpose of the webinar. But how does one just start gathering that sort of persona intelligent and make up those personas?
Well, I think you start by looking at your ideal customer. So who are you trying to really attract? So you can look at your existing client base if you have existing customers. But if you're launching a new product or service, it's the demographic that product or service is aimed at that you're trying to build up, and try and by putting a picture there, a face, you can actually have your sheet, your A4 sheet on the wall, so that you know everything you do, you're trying to sell to this person, and what they like and what they don't like. For example, a 30-year-old, 40-year-old guy is interested in certain things, maybe football, maybe motor racing. Try and find out where they're interested in things, what things they're interested in outside of work, and that may even give you an opportunity to, send them information about those topics as well.
Great. A couple questions around the tools you mentioned, so I'd just like to summarize. So a couple of tools David mentioned was Feedly, Hootsuite, Clout, and Social Bro. So a lot of those are with regards to monitoring or helping syndicate your content, or what content to syndicate. And then, of course, you guys obviously want to make sure you have profiles in the main social sites that your audience kind of lives in.
Yeah, exactly. These were really tools to leverage the main social channels. It's obviously important that you've got a really solid profile on all of the social channels that your target audience is likely to look at. So you don't need to be everywhere. There are hundreds of social platforms, but make sure you cover the top 3 or 4 that are most likely to be looked at by your target audience. LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, probably, maybe YouTube. Depending on, your own particular sector.
Great. A question here just around the frequency in which you communicate and send your messages. Is there a recommended frequency, like to the point where you don't want to become like a bother to them, that you're over-communicating? What's your advice on that?
Well, I think that, the social channels are very cluttered. If you're sending out newsletters, the frequency of that is probably monthly. Some people send out weekly newsletters. I think monthly is fine for a newsletter. But I think if you're then talking about, well, I'm going to send out some tweets, you would do more than monthly on tweets. So you could do 4 or 5 a day quite easily. Remember, not everyone is going to see a tweet. So even though someone's following you, they're following hundreds of people. So your odd tweet is lost in all the background noise. The only way that people would find it would be if they were following you on a list, or they're following some of the keywords that you're using in your tweet. So I think that, as you engage with social selling, then you're probably going to be posting on a daily basis to many of the channels, in some cases maybe more than once a day.
Great. Just a question here around the business the size of the business that might leverage social selling, and specifically, do you think social selling is more for an extended sales team, or can this work with a 1 or 2 person sales team?
Oh, I think it absolutely works across the board. Some very big organizations are using it extensively, and we've trained some major corporations, the whole sales team, 20, 50, 200 salespeople around the world on using these techniques. But it also works for an individual. you know, as any individual consultant or any small business owner, you can connect with your local audience on the social channels and get the message across that you are the local expert, the go-to guy or gal locally for those services. So I think it works. It does work for everyone. You know, it just needs that application and to be worked at to make it reality.
Great. Question around languages. So if your business operates in multiple languages, how you manage your content across languages? And should you, be doing content in multiple languages? What's your recommendation there?
Yeah, I think that is a challenge, isn't it? But most of the social platforms will automatically translate a blog post. I know that I'm on LinkedIn a lot, and my colleagues in WSI from other countries are posting their posts in French or Italian or Spanish. And if I see an interesting article, I can pull the article up and I can have Google translate it on my screen. So it's not such a major problem. I think if you're trying to develop a local business profile in the country, it's probably as well to have a presence on those local social channels locally, So it really would depend on how seriously you need to be understood in the different languages.
Great. Just going through here. I don't know if you have a kind of rule you live by when it comes to how much of your own content you syndicate versus how much of others people's content you syndicate. Is there a general ratio that you try and stay with, David?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I try and do. So I will certainly send out more syndicated content than my own content or WSI content. And I think a good ratio, maybe if you do 5 or 6. For every 5 or 6 tweets you send out that might be from other people, then put one of your own. You don't want to be tweeting all the time back to your own website. I think people get fed up if they see everything you send out is simply your own sales pitch. Buy me now, buy me now, buy me now. That switches people off. If you're adding useful information about services or products from other people, that's more exciting for them. So I would say, if for every 6 tweets, do 4 or 5 from other people, 1 that's then back to your own website about an event you're running or something, or a new product, and then do another one that puts a human face on it. The fact that you went to a motor racing event, or you went to a concert, or because we're all humans at the end of the day, and by creating that personal profile, you're really fleshing out your own persona to your audience. So maybe 5 or 6 out of 5 or 6 tweets, 4 or 5 other people's, 1 from your own company, and then 1 that's a bit of fun.
Great. I know you touched a little bit about how, in order for this strategy to work, sales and marketing really have to work together. But so maybe you just want to talk a little bit about how, from a content marketing perspective, how the sales team works alongside the marketing team to create content.
Right. So I think that if you can get them all trying to promote the same message for the company. So the sales guys know a lot of the questions that are being asked. The marketing people maybe are not face-to-face with the customer. So I think if you can get the questions to be answered, then you can always get the marketing people to create the content and develop that into meaningful products, white papers or infographics or videos that explain the different elements. And then the marketing people can certainly send that information out, but the sales people can also syndicate the same content. And all of that content is on the corporate website. So all of those different leads from the sales team and the marketing team, all of the links back to the content are all coming back to your own web properties. So you're building hundreds and thousands of links back into your own website from all the content that's being shared. And that's where that company web's presence then is gaining more and more traction and more credibility with Google. So it'll help you raise up the search rankings. And I know we've run seminars and webinars on search marketing, and you know, this is very topical, you know, way of getting traffic.
A question here around, you know, if you're an individual, a member of a sales team, and you're looking to adopt certain things like this, but still trying to get the buy-in from your management to go ahead, is there any kind of words of wisdom that you can maybe just share on, you know, that they could share with their management on trying to buy into this new shift in social selling?
Yeah, I think you know, I think if you can look at things like LinkedIn, typically that's where most salespeople will get the most value from, and use it to identify 2 or 3 people locally that you could target your message to. You know, a little bit of success will always get management's attention. So now if you could actually demonstrate that it works, or find somebody to help you to demonstrate that it works, you know, case studies are always great, but if you get the sales team switched on to wanting this, then generally the management will follow, because everyone's asking them for this this fantastic new tool.
Great. A couple of questions on buyer personas. Do you think that there's a limit to the number that you should be targeting with your content?
Well, I think that you would turn that round to the size of the company, wouldn't you? How many different products and services are you actually marketing? You know, I think you don't want to have too many, certainly. But you know, a travel agent would maybe have companies that are don't know anything about them at all. So, you know, one buyer persona would be the person that's never heard of you, doesn't really know anything about you. Another persona might be a person that's traveled with you once or twice before, so you might want to show them slightly different information. They've tried your service before, so they're looking for slightly different information. They're looking for the latest special offers maybe, rather than the individual that doesn't know anything about the company is not looking for the special offer. They don't even know they like you yet. So, you know, you've got different stages of you know, engagement with the client, could be different personas. And then you've got all the different types of travel. So, you know, you could have cruise customers, you could have people that like going on treks, on outward bound adventures, you have people that like going on camping holidays. So that, you know, there's different personas, all in that one travel agency type of business. So, you know, you can take this quite a long way. But, you know, for each persona, you've got to create unique content that will attract those individuals. So generally what we would recommend that you do is you start with the ones where you get the highest financial reward by converting them. So look to where you get most of your revenue and start there. Do it for the most high value opportunities first. And then once you've got those cracked, then you can add more personas for the slightly less profitable areas of the business.
Great. A question here, interesting, and maybe you can just put your thoughts. Is there a better time of the day to tweet or post in LinkedIn to increase the read rate?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I think, you know, again, obviously the time clock changes as you go around the world. And if you have an audience in your own country, people are very often online first thing in the morning or last thing at night, on sometimes lunchtime. In most office situations, business people tend not to be on LinkedIn in the middle of the day, unless they were perhaps out and about, and maybe sitting on a train, and they're on their iPhone or their phone doing a mobile device, you know. Mm-hmm. And again, you want to try and catch the bulk of the audience. Some of those tools that I mentioned will tell you when the most majority of your audience is online, but it's not even quite as straightforward as that. I think you just have to try different times of day, and indeed different days of the week. You know, Monday mornings people are very busy. You know, there's a lot of email come in over the weekend, so you don't get much attention on a Monday morning. And Friday night everyone's going home, so you know, probably not 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, but you know, maybe mornings and evenings in the middle days of the week. But I would try different times and see when you get the most engagement. Try it, because it will be different for each target audience.
Yeah, and the great thing now is with all these measurement tools out there, you can see what those engagement levels look like.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, yeah. So by monitoring the engagement, how many people retweeted? What times did they retweet? What times were you getting those retweets or those follows? You know, and you'll probably see a pattern in your own channels, because you know, again, if you're a travel agent, your audience is maybe active online in the evening rather than during the day. So it would be different for different businesses. Great.
And as a final question, do you see social selling as a type of selling method for all, like, you know, could work for all products and services, or does it work for specific ones?
I think it would work for most products and services. I'm not aware of anything that it wouldn't work for. Remember, what you're doing is creating an impression that you are the expert in your field, and most companies, you know, that online credibility is important to them, so that people will come back to them again and again, and that when somebody talks about a product or a service, everyone locally says, oh yeah, they're the experts.
Yeah.
So you're trying to create that feeling of you being the expert, the subject matter expert, that everyone, the go-to person or company for that service, and you know, and then engaging with people so that they remember you. They may not be ready to buy yet, but when they are ready to buy, they come to you first.
So even if you do a lot of face-to-face selling, I mean, I think this is a great way to just enhance your expertise.
Oh, I think so. Yes. I mean, this is the way forward. I think, you know, my last slide there was the salesman of the future, and I think that this is definitely where things are moving, and every type of salesperson will be needing to engage with social selling.
Great. Okay. I guess that's it for questions at this point in time. Again, if you do have any questions after the fact or ones that we weren't able to answer, just follow up with your consultant. We do actually, I mean, this social selling is a big topic, and I know that there's a lot of information that David shared with you, some of which might be a little bit overwhelming. I did post some additional resources in the chat. There's a marketing guide there, an infographic, and a white paper. But we do actually have an online social selling mastery course that people can take if they want to learn and get certified in social selling. So it is a 12-week online instructor-led course. It's a combination of webinars and an online learning system. And you can learn a lot of all the stuff that David hit on here, plus additional information. So if that's of interest for you and you want to get more information and get social selling certified, I mean, please contact your consultant, and they'll be able to tell you how you can go about getting entered into the course. I'd like to just take this time to give a big thank you to everyone that attended today and taking an hour out of your schedule to listen to us speak. I know a lot of people asking questions on the slides, on the recording. Yes, the webinar is being recorded. Slides will be made available to you. These will come in from your consultant who referred you to the webinar. So you will get a copy of that. We do have a short survey that we would love for you to complete and just give your feedback on this webinar. Again, as I mentioned, there's a great marketing guide just around setting up your LinkedIn profile if you're using LinkedIn. So take a look at that. And we do have a great social selling infographic that you might want to take a look at as well. So as a final, I'd like to give a big thank you to David for taking time to share his wisdom.
Thanks, Cheryl. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure talking to you all. Hopefully you've all picked up some little golden nuggets from that you can actually apply.
Yes, great. And if you have any questions, or if you for some reason don't have a WSI consultant, you can visit us on wsiworld.com, and we will get you in touch with a consultant in your local area. So thank you all for attending, and I hope everyone has a great day. Goodbye.